I-12, consideration of a budget amendment to add a solar power project at Hamilton Pool to the fiscal year 2014-2015 CIP budget. And Felicia Newhouse, our Public Works Administrative Manager, will be presenting the item. Thank you,
yes.
Felicia.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lucan and members of the Council. So tonight I'd like to start with what is the SEED Fund, and the SEED is an acronym standing for Sustainable Energy and Economic Development. It was designed to enable a group of local public partners, cities, and other public agencies to install new solar power projects in order to reduce energy costs and create environmental benefits. Our SEED Fund team is made up of a local nonprofit group and an independent solar consulting firm. The team is responsible for organizing funding sources, providing technical and logistical support, managing the procurement process, and overseeing projects. Our SEED Fund team is SCI and Optiny, Inc. The participants of the SEED Fund are local governments, agencies, and schools who wish to evaluate solar potential and take advantage of collaborative procurement to reduce their energy costs and gain environmental benefits. The coordinating agency is one of the participating public agencies who's committed to securing PV for their own facilities and is willing to work with the SEED Fund team to develop and issue the RFP on behalf of themselves and other regional participants. For the Marin, Napa, and Sonoma procurement, the three counties that are participating in the SEED Fund project, the City of San Rafael is our coordinating agency. I'd like to also mention that if the City of Novato moves forward with the solar project, the SEED Fund does get reimbursed 1.9% of the project costs, which will be used for similar programs at other locations. If Novato chooses to opt out of the SEED Fund program, we pay nothing. This is a little background slide on the history of the SEED Fund to date, and I'd like to mention that although I'm making this presentation tonight, there are many others whom I'd like to acknowledge for their contributions to this point. Jonathan Whelan with Optiny, Inc., who is in the audience with us here tonight, is an independent solar consulting firm responsible in part for the formation of the SEED Fund in 2012. Former Public Works Director Jason Nutt, who first brought this proposal to Council for approval of the MOU in May of 2013. Nick Raposa, our own custodian supervisor, who facilitated all of the meetings at the Novato sites during the feasibility study period in September of 2013. City of San Rafael staff who developed, issued, and along with other participating agency staff vetted the RFP, sending it to hundreds of vendors, reviewed responses, and ultimately selected the two vendors, Symmetric and Danlin Construction, who are also here in the audience tonight to help answer questions. And last but not least, Finance Manager Brian Cochran, who was instrumental in the financial analysis of the current proposal to the City of Novato's Measure F Committee in October. The Measure F Committee recommended their approval of the project and use of Measure F funds. To date, the cities of San Rafael, Mill Valley, Cotati, and St. Helena, and other agencies such as Southern Marin Fire District and Sonoma County Water Agency, among others, have all approved projects under this SEED program. And I should mention here that these are all net metering designed systems, not feed-in tariff systems, which are a different model of solar power project. The net metering solar power systems are specifically designed to offset electricity usage at the facility. The feasibility study prepared for the City of Novato identified 3 city-owned sites for potential solar power projects. These sites were each evaluated based on certain physical criteria such as available electricity sources, sun-free shading, and space limitations. Additionally, the study considered the financial feasibility of the sites. Of the 3 Novato sites that were evaluated in the study, only the Hamilton Pool site was identified for group procurement in the SEED Fund program. 2 designs were ultimately proposed, a ground mount system and a carport system at the lower parking lot of the Hamilton Pool. I'll describe the ground mount system first and then the carport system. This is an sort of a bird's eye view of the Hamilton Pool and the lower parking lot located to the right. On the hillside slope at the lower parking lot, each ground-mounted array would be approximately 75 feet by 20 feet with approximately 15 feet between the 2 arrays. Those are demonstrated on the hillside there. I think you can see them. The panels would be located approximately 2 feet from the ground at the lowest point and 7 feet from the ground at the highest point. The ground mount system would be surrounded by a 5 to 6 foot high chain link fence as an added security and safety measure. These pictures are examples of similarly installed arrays. The carport design is also located, would be also located at the north side of the lower parking lot, covering the partially some parking and some of the green area at the lower parking lot. And the design would look something similar to these examples from the City of Dixon Police Department and City Hall. The carport design does provide useful shade and partial rain cover for Hamilton recreation visitors and employees. It also does not require the same security measures as the ground mount system. These are another examples installed at the City of San Pablo. Of the two designs that have been presented to various audiences, the carport design has been the preferred system choice. So this next slide is a little bit detailed, and I have provided a handout to council and to staff. It's the pricing and benefits analysis. I'm using the carport example to go a little bit more detail into the financials, because the ground mount system and the carport system do have different pricing modeling. This particular analysis, again, is based on the carport system. So staff is recommending that the City of Novato use existing cash reserves to take advantage of a discounted purchase price option. The purchase price is located in the top left-hand corner, surrounded by the red rectangular box. The system cost without the group procurement discount would be $163,000 roughly. With the 5% bundle discount, it's highlighted as $154,994. The yellow rectangle on the left side shows the cost per year from years 1 through 25, and gives the price of utility costs at the pool at approximately $18,000 per year, with an estimated utility cost increase of 4% per year. On the right side, the yellow rectangle is showing the, again, the discounted cash purchase system price of $154,994 plus the operation and maintenance costs of approximately $700 a year. That includes a 3% escalator over the 25-year time span. The total system cost in present day dollars would be $194,625. The estimated energy savings in dollars over the 25-year span would be $495,723. So again, this is just a detailed spreadsheet. I'm using the yellow highlights to draw your attention to the discounted purchase price and the estimated cost savings and expenses over the 25-year period. There are a couple of different other finance models here that are not applicable to the City of Novato. Another way to look at the long-term financial benefits of this investment for the direct cash purchase is represented by the blue line here on this graph, the upfront cost being a little bit less than $200,000, the system breaking even somewhere around year 9 to 10, with long-term savings of almost $500,000 in present-day dollars. For environmental benefits, another consideration of this project, the city's climate action plan was adopted in December 2009. It targeted a 15% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from 2005 levels by 2020. The climate action plan identified reducing energy use through energy retrofits to buildings and facilities as a measurable emission reduction strategy to make those goals. As reported in the CAP for the baseline year of 2005, municipal operations emitted approximately 2,300 metric tons of GHGs. The proposed 46.8 kilowatt solar power system at Hamilton Pool is estimated to offset about 1,200 metric tons of GHG emissions over the life of the system, equivalent to taking 14.8 cars off the road for 25 years or planting 24 acres of trees. I'd like to also mention here that according to a 2012 Yale and New York University peer effect study, residents in a community are more likely to install solar power if systems have already been installed in the area. 10 additional installations in a given zip code can increase the probability of adoption by 7.8%. Staff requests that Council support the approval of an expenditure of Measure F funds to finance the purchase and installation of the solar power project at Hamilton Pool. And Brian, Jonathan, and I are available to answer questions. Frank Gobar, owner of Danlin Construction, and David Potofsky of Synetric are also in the audience and available for questions as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Felicia. We'll go ahead and start with questions from Council if there are any. We'll go ahead and start on the far right. No questions? All right. Jean?
I've always got one or two here. The pool, this is for the pool heating, is that right?
That actually is already offset by solar panels.
On the roof?
Yeah, on the roof, exactly. So this would be directly to offset our electricity utility costs.
For that facility?
For that facility, yes.
Okay, so the facility only operates X number of months a year. What, 4 months or 6 months?
We actually run the pumps 12 months a year.
Okay, so it takes care of all the pool operation and stuff?
Correct.
Okay, so it's figured on a yearly basis then?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. On the carport proposal, is that sloping, because there are a couple houses across the road, is that sloping away, in other words, toward the
Yes.
southwest?
Correct.
Rather than toward east, toward the homes?
Exactly.
So I know there was some concern about reflection and so forth, but that wouldn't be an issue because the panels would be sloping the other way, is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, yes.
Okay. And then tonight, are we, it sounds like we're not deciding whether it should be hillside or park or carport, or are we? We're just saying
Staff would request that it,
some direction.
some direction on the design, yes, please.
Right. Okay. And then there was some indication of, with the carport one, of some tree trimming. Were those the ones more up the hill, or do you know which ones they were? Because it wouldn't be the ones along Hamilton Parkway, because if it's tilted the other way, I don't think.
Yeah, that's correct. I might refer that question to our Synetric representative, David Potofsky.
Yes. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. I believe on the corner there's a tree that may give a little bit of morning shade, and so I think we had looked at that. We'll have to look a little bit closer. Right. So you see the
Right here?
corner there. And
Right.
even though they're sloping the other direction, it may eventually get tall enough where there might be some morning shade. So you can either live with the shade and the lack of production, or trim it.
Okay, great, thank you. And I'm assuming the Measure F committee, the discussion they had for using Measure F for this was that because it was a cost savings over time. Is that kind of where the discussion led? Do you know?
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Brian Cochran, our finance manager, to come up because he has been working closely on this issue.
Mayor and council members, yeah, I don't think the mic's on. Good evening. Yes, the Measure F committee did have 2 members absent at their meeting that considered this item, but they did vote 3-2 to recommend this expenditure of Measure F funds to the council. And the Mayor Pro Tem is correct that the committee did like the cost savings from it. There was some discussion about doing the PPA versus the direct cash purchase price, but in the end, the committee felt that this was an appropriate use of Measure F funds that would generate some significant cost savings over a long time period.
And while you're there, if I might, are you convinced also, your team, that the PPA is the best way to go in terms of financing it?
Actually, we're recommending the
Or the-
direct purchase.
Whichever, yeah, direct purchase, yeah.
Yeah, the savings when we do the direct cash purchase are pretty immediate. So the utility cost of $18,000 to $20,000 a year would immediately be offset. We would save that every year. And then in about 8 years, it would be pure gravy thereafter. Whereas the PPA, you're basically buying the energy, or you're selling it at a fixed cost, and the savings are very small in the first 15 years, I believe. Thereafter, the savings ramp up over time, but in those first 15 years, we're talking $3,000 to $4,000 savings a year, which is significantly less than if we just bought it outright. And with the long-term estimated production of the panels, it's significantly better savings over that 25-year forecast period.
Okay, thank you very much. And then one last one, maybe for Felicia, and it might have been in the report, but the maintenance, the cleaning of them to make sure and the trees are trimmed or whatever, is that part of our staff responsibility over time, over those 25 years?
We would actually be asking for a maintenance agreement with Synetric.
And that's been factored in?
Yes, $700 a year with a 3% escalator.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good report.
All right, Councilmember Kellner.
My question's been answered. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Rathman.
Yes, I have quite a few questions, actually, and unfortunately, I didn't get responses to some of them, so I will be asking them now.
Could we start maybe just with 3, and then, because I've got some questions too, and then we'll do another round?
That's fine. We'll hopefully do rounds until we get all the answers. You've indicated that the way this is structured is that any electricity that's generated or solar power that's generated at this facility only is applied to this particular facility, correct?
Correct.
And so any excess energy that's created from the solar panels then that we don't use at this facility, does that get credited back to the city's master account with MCE, Marine Clean Energy, so that it'll offset the cost of our other meters that we may have at other facilities?
The system is actually designed to not produce more energy than is required at the facility. It's designed to, in fact, produce just under the amount that's required at the facility.
So if the facility is operating only in the summertime, and then during the wintertime we don't operate it, then you're saying for the whole year it balances out, but it's just not during the summer or winter?
Correct.
For the whole year?
It's for the whole year, yes.
So currently we don't have any conservation, we don't have what a lot of cities have in terms of conservation, energy conservation measures, including like putting a pool cover over. I remember I used to swim at IVC all the time, and we had to put that pool cover on every night. And I know that the pumps could be modified possibly to reduce the energy use. Have we looked at any of those conservation measures?
Yes, thank you for that question. The pool was actually recently renovated, completion in May of 2010, so all of the equipment is fairly new and as energy efficient as the models that were available at that time.
But do we have pool covers, which we don't use the pool at night during the summer, or the pumps are operating, and the pool is still operating during the wintertime, but it's not in use. And so we used to save a lot of energy up at IBC by putting a pool cover over. So do we have one at Hamilton?
The water is heated also by solar water coils that are installed on the rooftop. But again, this particular system is designed to offset the utility costs. So unless the utility costs were directly related to the water heating, which I don't believe that they are in this particular facility, I'm not sure that a pool cover would necessarily offset the utility costs. But I'd be happy to invite our maintenance superintendent, Dave Myers, up to give us some additional information about that.
Great, thank you.
Dave Myers, maintenance superintendent. Yes, we cover the pool every evening, so the lifeguards and pool managers make sure the pool's covered every evening, and so that helps to retain a lot of that heat, and we were talking about the pumps. The main pump does run all year long, so even when we shut the pool down, we have to circulate the water and keep a minimum, even at this time of year when it's closed down, to maintain a minimum chlorine level and retard any algae growth or anything.
So do we have the pool covered during the winter time as well?
Yes, we do. They're
Over the
covered
pool.
right now. Correct.
Great. The other question I had related to the financial analysis, and basically my questions were centered really around the economic analysis and the physical layout, impact on the neighborhood, as well as the policy issues, was have we done an analysis for the whole city's electrical usage and looking at, well, if we wanted to offset those costs by implementing solar so that there's an overall net decrease in our energy costs, and looking at where the appropriate sites are, because there may be a, quote, more appropriate site for more solar panels that would have less of an impact on individuals or possible damage due to the balls out there, that would then cover the entire system. Because if you said if we did generate excess energy, you did indicate to me that there may be an opportunity for us to reduce the cost of our other facilities. Is that true?
Well, so let me address the first part of the question first, which is there an opportunity to install solar power systems to offset our utility costs, and is there an opportunity to audit or provide utility cost management, if you will, within all of our facilities within the city? And the answers to both of those questions are yes. Yes, there is an opportunity to do some utility cost management within city facilities. And yes, there may also be an opportunity to construct a solar power project that would be a feed-in tariff system where we would generate energy and basically sell that back to the grid. My understanding of the feed-in tariff system is that you need at least a 1,000 kilowatt size system to make that sort of pencil out, if you will. We get approximately 12 cents per kilowatt hour that MCE would pay to us for energy generation. A system that size, I don't know exactly where that would be located in the city of Novato. Again, the seed fund program model was a net metering model. So they didn't really look at opportunities for feed-in tariff systems.
So the net metering allows us only to offset the electrical usage for that facility and does not look at how we can lower the cost for the whole system.
Correct.
Pat, I've got that question as well.
Sure, go ahead, and you can come back.
Yeah, my question's a pretty simple one. To me, this sounds like a great program. What is the future outlook for possibly doing more things like this in the city?
I think, staff is very interested in pursuing additional energy cost savings. Again, utility cost management, energy reductions where it's possible. Looking at future solar installations in the city is something we're very excited about. This is an opportunity that we think would be worth pursuing because of the collaboration with the seed fund, and as other opportunities like this come available, we'll certainly bring them back to council.
Great. I know with all the work we went through on fiscal sustainability, projects like this, at least for me, is exactly one of the things I was very excited to see come before us. I'm going to look to see if council, Michael,
just want to add, we do have solar on our gym and what other facilities?
Courtyard.
And the corporation yard. So pretty much all our facilities, with the exception of the ones out in Hamilton that have all of the beautiful tile, have solar. There are opportunities potentially where we have large parking lots where we might want to do covered parking. But there aren't a whole lot of city-owned ones like that. But there may be opportunities as we move forward, and we're definitely looking for ideas from council or others and moving forward. These are great projects that we love to do.
Yeah, great.
Excuse me, I have some more questions.
I'm going to check with the rest of the council, see if they have any others.
Okay, great.
No. Okay. And Pat, before we go back, we do have 2 public comment cards. I just would like to ask, what we're doing tonight is we would be approving the budget amendment, and we'd be scheduling a public hearing, so there'd be a lot more future discussion on this item. Do you think it might be more appropriate to meet with staff to get some of these more detailed questions answered before we make the ultimate decision on this?
No, I think that there's some policy issues that we need to have a discussion about tonight that I'm going to be raising.
Okay. Do you have, we've got a lot more on our agenda, as well as a closed session later on. Do you have a rough estimate of how many more questions you have?
Well, I had submitted questions in advance, didn't get the answers, so I think I'm allowed the opportunity to ask these questions. I think the key issue here, there's 3 key issues. One is the appropriate use of Measure F by constructing solar units. Solar construction is not one of the listed expenditures in Measure F, and we're expending a lot of Measure F in this fiscal year, and we're backfilling a deficit in our general fund of $2.4 million. That's the first policy issue. The second policy issue is, why are we sizing a solar facility just to deal with the electrical use and not the heating at the pool, where really I believe, and in discussions that I've had with some of the local solar firms and some economists, is that we need to take a couple of steps back and look at what is our energy use and how can we maximize the construction of solar so that we offset, not facility by facility. Because if you recall, we put solar on this building, and that was not a unanimous vote, but we put it on this building not to necessarily do payback, because it is net metering, so it's by meter, it's not necessarily for the whole system, which creates a lot of limitations, but we did it to do a statement. And we tried to do solar on our city administrative building, but the majority of the council did not support that. So we're doing it facility by facility, but I really...
Point of order, let me correct that. I believe it was an ad alternate, and we couldn't afford it, so it ended up not being able to do it.
Well, it's questionable whether we could afford it or not. There were other funds available, and the council chose not to use those other funds. But I think the issue is, do we do the solar facility by facility, where there is a more isolated impact in the Hamilton area for this pool, or should we look at it as a whole system? And economically, what the economists that I've talked to said, it does not make sense for us to do it facility by facility when the cost is so great and the offset. So these...
Pat, I'm sorry. I think what you're bringing up is a great point, and the process we have for council to put something like that on an agenda to have the greater policy discussion is something we can certainly do. But tonight we're focusing on this particular item,
right,
which is... If we want to have that larger policy discussion, I don't think that we would hold this up. I think that we would go through our normal agenda-setting process to have that discussion. So if we could narrow it down just to specific staff questions, because I do want to get to public comment, we're starting to move into discussion right here.
Well, I believe that overall policy question and debate needs to happen before we approve this, because we're spending Measure F money and also committing to maintenance, liability costs, which have not been identified.
Is that a question for staff or a question for council?
Well, I had asked the question about what is the liability cost, because these panels are close to the ballpark and soccer field. And I did not get an answer what the liability is. I asked whether or not the installation company was going to be providing a full performance warranty contract for the entire system. And there were a lot of other questions that I had asked yesterday that I didn't get answers to.
Let's see if we can get those 2 answered and then go to public comment.
Yes, thank you. I can answer the question about the liability cost. The risk manager is estimated approximately $150 per year for insurance coverage. And David, I think you also had some information about the warranty on the, would you please come to the podium? Thank you.
So the warranty is as follows. It's a state mandated warranty on the workmanship for 10 years, bumper to bumper. The solar panels have a 25-year manufacturer's warranty, and the inverters have a 10-year bumper to bumper warranty from the manufacturer. The module warranty is based on output and percentage of output degradation per year.
So if a ball hits the panels and break, we're liable to replace those panels, correct?
Yes.
And it doesn't fall under the guarantee. Are you guaranteeing the full performance that's outlined in the staff report in terms of performance of output?
The output per contract that has been negotiated for all of the entities
for
is
this,
a 90...
For this facility.
Right. So the contract is a 90% performance warranty, guarantee, and the warranty is as I stated.
So then the output that you projected here, you presented a solar output with a very large reduction over the length of the 25 years, but with the other solar firms that I've contacted, the reduction over the 25, this is a significant reduction.
It's 1/2% per year, which is a very, very standard number that's used industry-wide. So I would challenge anybody that's offering less.
Okay. Well, I think that there are some local firms. And can I ask, are you local?
Danlin Construction is based in San Rafael.
And where is your company based?
San Rafael also.
You're in San Rafael. Okay.
Right.
My other question...
Maybe just one more question, and we'll go to public comment.
My other question of staff, are there any local firms? We have a lot of solar firms in Novato. Did any local firms in Novato bid on the contract?
Jonathan, can you answer that question, please?
Good evening, Jonathan Whalen with Optiny and the Seed Fund. No, unfortunately, no Novato installers bid on the contract, bid on the RFP.
Yeah,
If I could also clarify with regard to that, I'd just like to bring us back a little bit of the history. The SEED program, which Council, I believe, unanimously bought into over a series of years, came to Council, I believe, twice, or has been to Council twice or 3 times already, and voted on by Council. So the SEED program, the advantage of joining it originally, you might recall we reduced our staff by over 20%. And the advantage was, even during that time when we reduced staffing, we could take advantage of this program. They were doing all the analysis and evaluation of all the sites within the city free of charge to the city. And only if Council wanted to move forward would we then have to pay for the project. It meant that city staff wasn't hiring and going out for RFPs to do the analysis and evaluation of all the sites throughout the city, the evaluation of the financial evaluation and hiring a consultant to do that, and then project managing the rest of it. So that's why Council, over those years, reaffirmed a number of times participation in this program, and that's why we're bringing forward this item this evening. It's not a brand new thing that's coming up tonight.
Great.
So lastly, with regard to the 37 questions that were asked by Councilmember Eklund, staff looked at those questions and is prepared to answer all of them if Council would like to take the time to do that.
All right.
I think the feedback that I've gotten from some of the local firms in Novato, why they didn't bid on it is because the program, as it was presented several years ago, was very complex. And but they have other options where there's savings, and one of the suggestions that was made was that instead of
excuse me, point of order, Mayor Lucan, this sounds like comment to me and not questions anymore.
I'm ready to go to public comment as well.
Then let's go to public comment.
All right. Roy Hoke.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff. First of all, thank you very much to Felicia, who got me quite a bit of information about the pool. I live right down the hill from the Hamilton Pool, And that hill is my favorite hill. I either run up or walk it up every day, and I look at the pool every day. For quite a few years, it's beautiful. Thank you very much for the City Council for renovating the pool. It's so heavily used. So regarding the solar proposal, I have spent some time looking at the proposal. It was kind of a crash course in solar to me. Everyone loves solar. When I heard about the proposal, it sounded very exciting. It'll make the, and I agree with most of the parts of the proposal. I think that the buying is the best option, that the carport structure is a good option, that offsetting the net metering to the pool will definitely make the pool more affordable. So those are, and solar is great, you know. I'm looking at solar for my own house, and lots of people in our neighborhood already have solar, so that part is all great. Now, on the con side, just looking at it as if it were my money, you know, as if it were my budget and someone was coming to me and I was looking at spending $173,000 to offset $18,000 worth of electric use. I started taking a look at this because I know the pool pretty well, and it's $18,000 seemed like a lot of money for electric use at the pool. So if it were my money, the first thing I would do would be to look at, well, Policy 6, which is on page 6, says that the city's policy is first to reduce energy and then apply solar. So if it were my pool, I would first look at the energy use at the pool and see if we could reduce that, and then I would apply solar to whatever we couldn't reduce. And I know this is being kind of done in reverse order. So my challenge with this proposal is that it's designed right now at 98% recovery. So it's 98% of the current electric use is being covered by solar, which is quite different than most of the other proposals that I've looked at. It's pretty high. So it means that if you reduce electric use, you've all of a sudden you've bought way too much solar. You know, like maybe you should have bought $100,000 worth of solar and not $173,000 for what you really needed there at the pool. I mean, we do use a lot of, I got the pool electric bills, we do use a lot of like $10,000 a year in gas to heat the pool. And the electric is a big part of that because most of this electricity is this 7-horsepower pool pump that runs, you know, 24/7, 365. There's a huge opportunity to reduce energy costs for that. Maybe not today because these variable drive pumps are just coming in that are 7 horsepowers. But certainly within 5 years.
If you could wrap up your comments, you are getting very close to that 3-minute mark.
Okay. So that's my comment. I could go on about the energy usage at the pool and how we could reduce it, but I suggest that we don't have to spend $173,000, that there is chances to reduce energy use at the pool, and we could use a...
If you have additional thoughts or ideas, I'm sure it would be great if you could send them in. Thank you. Next is Pam Drew.
Third time's perhaps a charm, or else I'm going for broke on the third time. Everybody loves solar, for sure, but is it a good investment? Well, perhaps for the city it's a good investment, but is it really something that should be paid for with Measure F funds? Even your Measure F committee had a 3-2 vote with 2 people absent. If we are really trying to institutionalize a deficit, this is one good way to go about it. Invest $200,000 here and $200,000 there, and you will certainly be able to increase your deficit over time, and it will be pretty much engraved in stone. The question is whether Measure F is being spent properly and has been spent properly. When the bulk of the funds of Measure F have been spent in the space of a year and a half, it raises all sorts of questions about the planning process. And whenever you take into consideration that our city manager has been talking about making Measure F a permanent tax measure within a year or so of the passage of Measure F, that also raises all sorts of questions about the process. So most people don't follow this stuff closely. Most people can't analyze that business proposal. And obviously, many of you here tonight sitting on the council have not read the proposal. There is no reason that this should be voted on tonight under these circumstances. You should, at the very least, put it off.
Thank you, Pam. And I don't believe it is a fair assessment to assume that the council members have not read the proposal. We do a lot of homework in preparation for every council meeting, so I don't think that's fair for myself or my colleagues. That's the end of our public comment. We'll bring it back to our council for action or discussion.
One more question.
Yes.
If I might. So, Felicia, could you just state again the investment and then the long-term savings? It's one-time money for long-term savings of how much?
Yes, thank you. There's a one-time investment of approximately $175,000 for long-term savings of close to $500,000.
Okay. And then what about the whole issue of energy efficiency? You said, I mean, this facility is new.
Yes.
It's 2 years old.
Yes.
So it's got the newest pumps and all that kind of stuff, the highest energy we could get at that time.
Exactly.
So was there any discussion over that about, the high cost of electricity or, what could be done about that?
The facility was part of the feasibility study, and it was, looked at for its utility costs and energy expenditures. I think that has been factored into this financial modeling.
Thank you.
Additional question?
Yep.
Alicia, on the panels that are being proposed for the hillside, there was a comment in the staff report that it said that no significant trees were going to be removed. Can you answer whether any trees are going to be removed? And then the second question related to that is, are the panels going to, the proposed panels going to be facing the neighbors? And are they going to move, or are they just going to be facing the east, southeast?
So no trees would be proposed to be removed under the carport design systems, which is specifically what that staff is recommending for the solar power system at Hamilton Pool. For the ground mount system, I think there may be one. I wouldn't necessarily call it a tree. It's probably a large shrub that may have to be removed if the ground mount system would be the preference of the council.
So do we have the option to propose that the solar only goes above the parking lot and not put solar on the hillside?
Correct.
We have that option tonight.
That is the recommended design, that it is the carport design system, not the ground mount system that would be installed.
Right, but the carport design system only above on the parking lot.
Correct.
But not on the hillside.
It is somewhat on the grass, but not on the hillside. Let me pull up the picture again, and I can clarify that answer. So this is the solar array that is the carport.
Can you make
design.
that a little bit bigger so we can see? The blue is the parking lot.
The blue is the carport array. The gray here is the asphalt of the parking lot, and this little green space would be partially covered by which is flat, partially covered by the carport array. The ground mount system would be on this hillside area here, which is not what staff's recommendation is.
So staff is recommending not to place anything on the hill.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, I'll move the item.
All right, we have a motion.
And I'll second it.
And a second. We'll move to a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Councilmember Athos?
Aye.
Councilmember Eklund?
No, and I would like to state my reasons after everybody's had a chance to vote.
Councilmember Kellner?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McClamey.
Aye.
And Mayor Lucan.
Aye. It passes 4-1.
And I would like to explain why I'm making a no vote, because I'm a very big supporter of solar energy.
Could we, maybe the motion maker and the seconder respond first?
That's fine.
Great.
All right.
Okay. So I'm supporting it. I think there's been a lot of effort put into this whole seed fund and the consolidation of various agencies and so forth. And I think when you can leverage money, which is what we're doing here, if the numbers are correct, and we've got to assume that everybody's doing their job, then I think it's a good way to leverage one-time money, which is Measure F, for long-term savings. So that's why I'm supporting it from a fiscal standpoint. There are other issues in terms of energy savings and so forth, or greenhouse gas reductions as well, but mine is a real fiscal point of view. Thank you.
I don't want to take any time for comment, but thank you very much for the report. It was really well done, and very happy to see this happening.
All right. You were the seconder, right?
I was.
All right. Councilor Eklund.
Thank you very much. The reason I'm voting no, I support solar, but number one, I do not think that Measure F money should be used to construct this solar. When the folks voted for Measure F, it was to fill that budget gap, to keep the level of services what it was before the recession. And we've been using Measure F to backfill the deficit in this year's general fund to a tune of $2.4 million. And we seem to be adding on to that deficit almost every other month, it seems like. So with this action, it does increase our deficit because we are backfilling it with Measure F. Secondly is that I really think that in order to really look at this thing, net metering is not the way to go. That's an inherited system that Run Clean Energy got, and I'd love to see if Run Clean Energy can talk about changing that system, because they inherited that from PG&E, where you only deal with it by facility. And so I believe the Run Clean Energy has the opportunity to look at what is the general use of energy in a city, the city of Novato, for the city facilities, and where and how much solar can we put after we've looked at energy conservation measures throughout our buildings to really address all of the energy use. But by doing it building by building, we're spreading out the impact and we're not getting the biggest bang for our buck. Because maybe the facility that the council approved tonight could be sized differently to be able to offset energy costs elsewhere within the city, and at a very small, minimal financial increase. So I really think that this is premature. We have not had an opportunity to talk details about this solar project. Unlike the discussion we've had in other solar projects, it's been we've had several meetings just on one or two solar projects, but this was our first discussion on a detailed basis. There's other reasons as well, which I've articulated throughout the night.
Madeline, any comments?
No, I think it pencils out for this project. I think you did a great job presenting the information this evening, and if there's any interest in looking at this in the long run, I think this is something we need to put on a future agenda. And I would suggest that it might be in concert with our representative on Run Clean Energy. Might not be a bad idea down the road to get an update. It's been several years, but that would be the context in which I would do that.
Great. I would just really like to commend staff on bringing this forward. I think this is great for the city of Novato. It's great with regards to fiscal sustainability. Yes, it increases our deficit, but the long-term payout is a no-brainer. I've probably been more skeptical than most when it comes to spending Measure F funds, but anytime we could spend Measure F funds in a way that's going to create a long-term savings to us, which ultimately allows us to retain all of the services that we are attempting to retain, those are the type of investments that I want to be making with regards to Measure F. So I really hope that we could find even more of these, and really just commend staff for bringing this forward to us and everybody that worked on this. Well, we're going to be hearing, this is just the first step in it. There's going to be a public hearing in the future on this item, so we'll be hearing more about it. But thank you. All right. We will move on to the last item